give people, okay. So we are slowly starting, and we will give some people more time. But in meantime, I'm going to share a link with you. This is Miro board when I have some information for you. This Miro board will be available to you even after the workshop finished. So if you want to use it, you can use it. I will be also sharing the screen on my, I will be also sharing the screen. And okay, so let's start for now. Yeah, we are here today to talk the workshop on the API. And give me a second, I have clicked it wrong. Let's click it one more time. Yeah. Now it should be okay. So we are here today with the workshop on API testing and with JavaScript. So I am Maciej Wyrodek. I am currently working at a company called Displate. Displate is making a metal plates with different things from different brands like Star Wars. Basically, there are posters on metal of the higher quality. We are a product company, so we have a lot of, startup technology in ourselves. In my free time, I'm doing a channel on YouTube called IT Morning, when I am daily going through the articles from IT world. Unfortunately, channel is in Polish, but if you are able to understand some basics of Polish, I would welcome you to join and to listen. And as I said, our current agenda looks like that. We will start with quick refresher on API, because understanding the basics is very important for our start. Then I will show you a page which I will be using today to do some experimentations. After that, we'll do 2-3 quick cases in Postman, mostly to show you what is the idea behind this test. I kind of like to start with Postman to get the feel on the test I'm going to do and to experiment before I'm going to go to write in the code. After that, we will going to spend time in the SuperTest. SuperTest is one of the libraries for the API automation. It's basically one of the few more popular libraries for API communication called Super Agent, with additional wrappers that are making testing more visible. Usually when I have time on the physical workshop, we also are looking on the Cypress how to go into the using functionality for the API testing, because it has quite an extensive functionality there. But today we won't go there unless there will be some specific questions. We won't have enough time to tackle the Cypress. But I wanted to know that if you are doing end-to-end automatization in Cypress, Cypress also can do some basic API tests. In meantime, I'm sorry, I'm not able to pronounce your name. Yevgenia. I'm sorry if I butchered this name. I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Hi, I'm testing for 8 years and currently working with framework JS plus Test plus Playwright. We'll be happy to learn more about API testing with JS to apply to my work. You probably know that Playwright has also some functionality for the API testing, but of course we'll be looking here mostly on the how to use the Stride API. Okay, so yeah, I'm going in the wrong place right now, or not exactly wrong place. I have a short API quiz for you as the way for us to get a little more acquainted with the terminology, to check if your knowledge is correct. This is a frame where we have different questions of API, and we have few answers. We have few answers. Some are good, some are bad. And I would like you to take a moment and try to answer for yourself if you understand what is the answer. Usually during the normal workshop, in this section, we will spend more time on you doing it manually. But since we have 2 hours, we won't be doing it completely like that. So I will be sharing screen. I will give you a few minutes to answer, and then I will be marking the proper answers here. So the question is, the first question is, what is an API? And I'm thinking it may be a stupid question, but believe me, people don't understand what it actually stands for. And what is most important is application programming interface. Why I am talking about it, we will learn in next question. It's definitely not Apache protocol interpreter. I'm not sure even if there is something like this. And here are the two very similar texts, but there is more difference. API allows two applications to communicate only over internet. API allows one software to execute functions of other software. Lots of people, if asked, will tell you that API is only used to communicate over the internet. No, it's not true. It's a subset of APIs, usually called web APIs, but not only that, which allow API in general. It is a set of instructions. It is interface that is not user-friendly, not human-friendly, that is used to communicate between two different pieces of software. It may be going a little too far, but if you are writing in the test automation in Cypress or Playwright or unit tests, when you are using some libraries like Cypress, you are also using in some way API of that library, of that system of Cypress. Well, it's more on like a DSL domain-specific language, but it's kind of similar to this. So it is important for you to understand API is not only over internet. Next question, which is worth going over, is which of those are the protocols? We have HTTP, HTTPS, TLS, SLS, GraphQL, SOAP, JMS, REST. I will give you 3 seconds to think for yourself which answer would suit you, which are the proper answers, and then I will be answering. So I think HTTP is not a big stretch because the name is basically a hypertext. I forget what is the second T, but protocol. And the next issue is, we will take the HTTPS later. Next one is TLS. TLS is also a form of protocol, and SLS is older version of TLS. TLS is currently the protocol used for the secure communication. Its previous implementation was called SLS. They are basically the same thing. And HTTPS is basically HTTP over TLS. So this is kind of place when different experts say different things. For me, it's also protocol. Other people will tell that this is just some wrapper because it's HTTP over something else. So it's not really protocol, but we can put it here. GraphQL, which is currently one of the popular ways of doing API, it's not a protocol. It is, as the name suggests, query language. The same is REST. REST is not protocol. REST is basically an architecture or model of doing API calls. It's not protocol itself. And similarly, JMS. I don't think many of you even remember JMS. JMS stands for Java Messaging Service. It is a form of API that was used in past in Java. I'm currently not even sure if there are many projects like that that are using JMS. And of course, SOAP stands of system or we'll have later the recognition of the protocol SOAP. I will need to remember for the name. Now is something that it will be more important for you. Which of those are HTTP methods? Spend a second to think which of those are really the methods, because here is the lots of mistakes which can be problematic for you in the future. Let's get a sip of water. So let's start with the most popular. Probably everybody know get, everybody know post, and I'm assuming most of you know delete. Update is something that I'm quite often seeing on the during the interviews, and people are saying it's the request method in HTTP. No, update is not there. There are functions for update, but they are not called update. The function for updating, there are two. One is put, which updates the whole object, and another is patch, which is used to update a single value. And another thing that there is not their version. There is no option of this way to get the version. But there is head, there is no host, there are options. Select is also from a database, but there is no trace. Oh, I'm getting information that my internet connection is unstable. Is everything easily understandable, or are there some communication issues on my side? Okay, let's continue. The next question is, what kind of status codes are in the group 600? There is no lots of discussion here because there is no such group. There is no group of the code 600, so there are no codes here. Similarly, well, not similarly, what the status code group 500 stands for. This is something that stands on the issue on server side. So 500 is one of the most popular. There are a few others, but basically it means we've done everything okay. The server has crashed, wasn't able to deal with it. Group 400 means we have made issue. One of the most common example is 404 page not found. This is one that I found a lot of confusing for people because wait, but the page was there and it's not there. So why is my error not the error of the server? Well, because you are the one that is going for that URL. You are the one that is requesting this URL. So from server perspective, everything is okay. Usually it's human error. Group 500 is the little more complicated group, and it's very rarely seen if you are using developer tools in a browser or if you are using post1. Basically, those are redirects. So, for example, let's say you had page, yes, exactly, redirects. There are few types of redirects. There is information that something is permanent redirect, so something have moved to a new place forever, and there are temporary redirects. And anybody wants to answer what is the group 200 standing for? $200 is in theory success. Yes, Isabella had answered. Unfortunately, I'm going to tell you this, success doesn't mean always success. In theory, if we have some issue, there should be other codes, but quite often right now, 200, which is status okay, means no longer okay. It means that your message was received and was processed. One of example of this is a Salesforce, which quite often it's returning you 200, and in body there is error message, server crashed. So you need to be more careful with this. 200 have also options like that, which are, well, not exactly saying that everything is okay. One of the examples is 202. Accept, it means server have got your request, but it doesn't mean it's going to answer or it's going to answer what you want. Last group is 100. 100 is info. Honestly, I'm going to be honest with you. I don't remember ever seeing in my life anything with the response code 100. I haven't seen any of those codes in real life. I know they are used. I know company that is using them, but I haven't seen them in my real life, in my work experience. So if anybody has seen them, I would really be interested to hear about them. Okay, so now we are going into a little more tricky question. It is, what is REST? I will give you a few seconds to think. We have 4 cards here: the protocol, responsive stateless transfer, representational state transfer, architecture style. Yes, Nadia is correct. It's arc style. And it's not protocol as we talked. But from these 2 cards, representational state transfer, responsive stateless transfer, which one it is? So it's state or stateless? It is, the full name is representational state transfer, which is kind of confusing to me because REST itself is stateless. What does it mean? It means that server doesn't know what you are doing. It's answering your questions. You as client, you have to be aware what is your state, into what state you are doing, and all options are always available to you. So that's why it's called stateless. And the SOAP, it's very similar. Here we have service-oriented architecture protocol, simple object access protocol, a JSON-only protocol, a XML-only protocol. And I'm going to say to you, this is the one where I am quite often getting mistaken. I have practically today already answered this question wrong. Because a SOAP protocol is used with service-oriented architecture, which was microservices before microservices. But as Isabella has said, the proper expansion is simple object access protocol. And it is an XML-only protocol. It's only support XML, which means you need to always provide all the information or the correct information. For example, REST has the information that are required and all expanding information. If in case REST, you will send the field that is unknown to the REST, to the API, it will be just ignored. XML SOAP will throw you an issue. Okay, now let's go into also another thing that is worth mentioning. What is the difference between API and web API? We have here options like API. All web services have API, but not all APIs are web services. Web services need network, while some API don't need it. There is no difference. Is there any difference or is there none? As we were discussing previously, web services need network and API can be locally, doesn't need. So of course, since we have some difference, it cannot be known. And all web services have API, but not all APIs are web services. Going further, which request method have mandatory body? Do you know? Do you recognize them? Yes, post. Anything else? Put. Yeah, put. Oops, oh, sorry, that wasn't put. And there is one more, patch. Exactly. Those doesn't have. Interesting thing is get in theory accepts the body, but it's not mandatory. Why? A current standard will tell you don't use body with get, but historically it was allowed. And due to that fact, get still accepts body because there are some ancient systems that are still using it. Now, last few questions before we go into the meat, which is which of those are parts of the response? Body, header, status code, footer, method. Definitively. Status code. Body. And one more. Header body. Yes, exactly. Footer is only on the internet, and method is, well, method is part of something else. So now the same questions, different things. Okay, so which of those are the part of the request? Let's say not mandatory parts, because for example, not only mandatory parts, because body, method, header, yes. Again, body is part, but remember, body is not mandatory. And last one, and this is also something which is easy to mistake. What is the difference between authorization and authentication? Here we have options. Authentication verifies who user is. Authorization determines user access right to resources. Authentication determines user access right to resources. Authorization verify user who user is. They are the same. Since here we have a lot of text for the writing, I won't be expecting you to give the answer. The most important thing, authentication verifies who are you. For example, if I would access a normal shop, normal internet shop, not being logged, I can access some parts of application and no, wait, this is authorization. The system doesn't know who I am. So for example, when I'm ordering stuff, I have to give my information. And when my action will be logged, they will be logged as anonymous person. But when I will be authenticated, system will know that it's me and will also be able to track me as me and assign things to me. On the other hand, authorization determines my access right. It means if I can access file. For example, some files can be even authorized to be used by unlocked persons. Some other needs not only locked person, but some specific credentials. Usually in your company, there is a lot of documents. Some of them are available to you, some of them are not available to you. And this is authorization if you can perform some actions. It's important to differentiate both those two. It's not easy. Personally, for me as the dyslexic, I have often problem with making difference between one and the other because they are very similar words for me. And so let's go further. Okay, we have done our little quiz. So now, what we'll be using? For the duration of our course, I will be using the copy of my blog. I will put some credentials for user for one user to you. You can use it. This is copy. If you break it, you break it. But one, please, you will have access to create post there. Please don't put anything there that could be, well, prohibited by law. So the credentials we'll be using, I'm putting in the chat right now. The credentials will be working until the end of July. You can play there. And the access to the admin is over this address. Okay, so the WordPress is interesting case because a WordPress normally doesn't allows access via API. There is necessary to activate some things. And one of such things is the plugin for authorization using JWT, which is JSON Web Token. It's a one way of authentication of the user. It's basically a user is a token used for authorization and authentication. And how it works, when I log to the application, I will be getting the token in the response. As I told, you have on the Miro all the links I'm sending to you. But here is the link to the manual of the token. Why we are looking at it? Because the first thing that we want to do will be to get the token to see if we can log in. And for that, I will be using Postman because I want to check if everything works properly. And I have here already save changes here. Let's close this. I have here already some requests made, but let's do it completely again from the start. Our URL will be http workshop API JSON JWT auth Q1 token. This is the full URL that is used for this request. And since this is a post, because we want to send our format, it's using body. So we'll have row, we have JSON, and what were the parameters? Here we had the information, what were the parameters that we're using. I think it was username and password. Yeah, so we have username. And the other one, yeah, I forgot. Okay, so let's see if everything is working. Now we should get some issues. Yeah, we got empty username. So our username was Wrodek Maciej. And let's make a shot. Let's see what will tell us now. Yeah, empty password. So let's give some wrong password. Invalid email. Okay, so now we can check if the proper credentials are working. Wait, what? But this is valid email. Give me a second. That was something I wasn't expecting. Interesting. The user wasn't saved. Let's try it again. Let's recreate the user which we were using. Give me a second. I'm creating the user. Oh yeah, the user was there, but I gave him the wrong role. That was the problem. Let's say now. Let's see now. Okay, now it's correct. Incorrect password. So let's try the password we have sent him. Okay, now we managed to log in. We have here the user that was validated and we can check it. Normally, I would spend more time at this stage doing more test, planning the test that we're going to do on the API side. Because let's be honest, logging is usually the first thing that we are checking, and then we need to reuse it. But since we don't have much time, I'm going, and you are not seeing any code yet, going to go to the code. So first thing first, I have created empty repo where I will be pushing the changes I have done during this this training. So this will be the repo I will be using. Let's open the folder where it was. Yeah, select the folder. Okay, let's run some terminal. And let's create ourselves some repos. All comments that I will be doing here are visible on the are also put on the presentation I have sent. So first thing here, we need to initialize the repo npm init. What will be the package name? Committed API work. Version 001 description or committed. Question, is the code and the terminal visible enough? Should I enlarge it? Is everything readable to you? Entry point, we will skip. Test command will skip for now. Git repository is okay. Keywords API. Author, Maciej Wrodek. License. Is this okay? Yes. So we have already initialized the repo. As you can see, we have here some information. We won't have mine because it will be, we have only test. The script, the test is right now throwing error because we don't have anything. We have rest of the stuff properly set up. Thank you for the information. Since everything is good, we'll be going. Oh, by the way, I'm using Visual Studio Code mostly because, well, it's much easier to make a big code easily visible and readable for everything here, especially the menus, compared to WebStorm, PHP Storm. In my day-to-day work, I'm usually using PHP Storm because it's much more convenient for me. Why PHP Storm, not the WebStorm? Well, most of the company is working in the PHP, so we have licenses for that, but both are good in case of the automation. Okay, so we have set up the repo. Now we need to add our test runners. We will be using the same test runners that are used by Cypress, which is Mocha and Chai for assertions. You can use it, of course, with any other libraries because SuperTest doesn't have its own test runner and its own assertions, but I will be using them in the same configuration. So the command is npm install --save SuperTest, which will install as the SuperTest library. Mocha. Oh, I ate the letter on the end. It should be chai, nie cha. npm Mocha Chai. Okay. So now we have the rest of the libraries added. We should see them in dependencies. There is Chai, there is Mocha, there is SuperTest. And what now? Well, now the good thing would be to make some simple tests to check if everything is working correctly. Let's do some very simple tests. So what can we do? The very simple test we can write for start is, well, just checking if we will get an error. So I prefer to put my tests in the folder. So super test. Recently, I am experimenting with different convention names for the files. And Cypress, for example, prefers for us that when we name files, use something like this. The name of the file .cy.js or ts if TypeScript. And it is most to differentiate them for the unit test, which use usually spec. And I am kind of thinking lately that in case of SuperTest, I'm kind of leaning toward using ST or API. Let's use ST today. So let's name it login st.js. So we have our file. The first thing which we need to add is our library for the super test, which will be using one of the model, which is request. It's required super test. And for that, we need also to provide our basic URL, which is this part. Oh, sorry, I need to put it in the, yeah. Okay, so we also need our assertion, which will be const expect chai. Chai is our library with assertions. Okay, since we are using Mocha for running test, the test use the convention describe and login tests, because we'll be doing. And here you can see that I've experience in C# and other languages because I wanted already to write the it in the way with the braces at the end. But in reality, here we need to do it like this because it's form of anonymous function. Here we have it. Let's put it here. And again, it will take me years more before I will never forget it. So for now, let's make any assertion just to see if everything is working. If I haven't screwed up in configuration, expect true, true. Of course, this should fail, but this is mostly to see if we haven't screwed up any configuration of the test. So how we can run tests, npx, mocha, and our folder will be super test. Test failed. Cool. That was what intended. So just so we won't have much problem, let's add our command for running tests to the repo. And now we can And now one thing, since we are working with APIs, we need to write one important information. This is async, because we're waiting for some answers. And our first comment is request, because we need to get request. There will be sending the post, and our URL will be the token address. We need to send body, but for now, let's do just send without any body. Okay, if we run this, nothing interesting will happen because we are not writing response anywhere. And since we need to wait for it to finish, it will be await. And we will have our response in const response. What was the status when we put everything with the empty? $403. So let's make expectation. So our response has status, which should equal not 200, what I'm writing, 403. Forbidden, I think. I never remember how to write forbidden. To be, yeah, forbidden. So let's see if everything is working now. Oh, thank you, Julia, forbidden. Okay, let's send it to you all, just in case. Our test passed. I'm usually the type that after the test is passing, I want to see it fail to make sure everything what I done is actually correct. So let's change the value. Yeah, it's failed for 402. Okay, so we done our very first test. Very simple, very easy test that basically is doing nothing. Probably at this point you have few questions. Okay, how we can send the body? And probably the other question is, dude, this is static URL, and usually we have lots of environment. What can we do about this? We will answer both questions in a few seconds, but maybe you have some other questions you want to ask about this part. Is everything understandable to you? Do you want some additional explanation on something? I will take one more sip of waters, and there will be won't be any questions. We will be continuing our work. Okay, let's continue. Anyway, if you have any questions, write them at any point. I'm looking at the chat and I am trying to answer it at any possible chance. So we have our first test, which is basically checking what's going to happen with the negative case. What we can do now, we could do all cases over and over, which we could check all the combinations. This is place which we can do it because in case of login, I have no issues with repetitions because this is a very important functionality. So, but we won't be doing everything today. So just to write, I usually, when I'm thinking what test to write, I'm usually putting them in comments as test. the proper incorrect mail, correct mail, incorrect password, correct mail, correct password, no permissions to use API. Type correct mail, correct password, access to API. Okay, so this is the cases that are coming for me just here and now to write very fast. We won't be doing everything. We will concentrate right now on this case, on the positive case scenario to have happy path covered if it's working correctly. Okay, so we can reuse the part of this code. Probably at this point, you may say why we are doing some copy pasting. In case of unit testing, API testing, the copy paste is not always the worst thing. Basically, unless the test is very big, it's better to have everything on front of you on one screen than to look at some other files when you have the setup. But this will be proper naming of test is hard. I'm usually spending lots of time of thinking of the names. This is not proper name, but I think it's giving us enough information what we'll be doing. So we know our address, how we can now send the information. And basically we are sending here body. Our first field is user name. In our case, it was Mocha plus committed. And next there will be password. And here we have our magical string. In case of when we are going beyond one screen, I'm usually making the indentation on the chain to put it in different level. There are many styles of that kind of thing. I won't be going into the styles here. And what should be here? The status should be 200. Let's do the assertion. Let's see if this will work. Something timeouted. Let's see if this was on my side. Yes, it was on my side. Since this is API tests, they are quite fast, and this is the point to go into the timeouts. Let's run it into a few more times, just to see this issue repeat. Okay, as always at this moment, it's not. It doesn't. Oh yeah, it will fail. Yes, it will fail. We are doing it on internet. We are doing it on not very fast environment, which is my backup of the WordPress. And as is usual in case, if we are not using mocks, something will work slower. And of course, we can control the timeouts. There are functionality for the controlling the timeouts, and we should spend some moments on setting them. In this case, we will be using a timeout from Mocha because this is effect of the our Mocha library, and the Mocha has its own file for managing its configuration. The file is, I'm putting it on the wrong place. It should be on the, let's go, dot Mocha JS. Yeah. Yes, I can copy paste the task to the chat. Let's see if I can put everything here. But you know, I can also do something which I promised I will be doing and which I'm not doing, and which is committing them. Okay, and in the repo which I sent you before, you should now be also be able to see the code so far. And let's send it to you. So let's go back to our code. I have created the file mocha.rs.js, which is used for the control of the setting of Mocha. I'm not going to go over all the settings here. Basically, if you want to read more about them, there is Mocha config, and it will be reading you the whole file and information how to set up the config. I'm sorry for the internet connection today. I am on new place and the test yesterday showed that everything should be okay, but it looks like it's not as stable as I would like to it be. Anyway, let's go back. So I'm not going to show you how to do the whole file. The most important thing for us is one of the flags. The flag is called, give me a second, I'm looking for it right now. Timeout. So first, since I'm using the version module exports, I am using the version which is from the world of JavaScript. We need to do module export. The change that we will be using is timeout, and I think 500 milliseconds should be enough. Let's see if everything is working here. Yeah, first let's check if this file is actually working. I have set up timeout 1 millisecond. Everything should fail right now. Yeah, everything should fail. So let's put it on the time we were expecting, which is 500. And oh, sorry. Both tests have passed. Both tests have passed. As you can see, the times, even at the worst moment, are not going over 2 seconds. So we can do it like this. Let's run. Let's see one more time. Okay, I will show you a few more things in the config, but I will commit the very baseline config. I will put the config in chat in a few seconds, but let's put a few more information here. For example, we can have information about the retries. Let's say we have a one retry, which means after the test fails, it will retry it again. This is another way to deal with the flakiness of the environment. I wouldn't recommend it doing it as the basic solution, but it is something that may be useful to you at some situations. We can also set up here the information about different setups, but for now, let's leave it at this. If there will be something else we need to do, I will be talking about it. And no, wait, it should be 2000. That should be 2000. That should be this value. Yeah. So we added the retries. Push. Okay, cool. But here we have a security breach. I have committed to some repo on internet my password to my site. It is currently visible on the GitHub, and to be honest, it will be always visible there, because even if I will, as long as the repo is there, because even if I change it now, it will be in the past command. But let's say we still need to secure this information. We don't want to commit it. What do we have options? We can take it to some file outside with the data, and one of the options we have the env file. This is the way how you can do it in the Node. Node have built-in support for the file called env. This is default file when we can keep the different settings. So we can write our addresses here. For example, we can make URL, and here we can put our URL. What was our URL? Our URL was this. But this file to work, it needs a little more. This is not everything what it needs to work. Basically, we need to install a library called .env, so we will be able to read from this file. So our command will be, one moment. Oh, sorry, the comment in the chat is wrong. It will be without save dev. It will be just .f, even .g, if I remember correctly. And now we can use the values from the env file. How we can do it? Basically, the command is process.env. And now we can provide the name of our variable, URL. If I haven't screwed up anything, right now it will be using this value, which, since we know the tests were working, if the test will work, we should see the success. Or, as in this case, I screwed up something. Let's make sure if I didn't go too much, maybe it shouldn't be without G. This is one of those libraries I never remember correctly which were it should be done. Yes. Let's activate new terminal. Test. Okay, I'm still missing something. Let's do everything, then we will see if this is still working. The next one, which should help us, is the npm.env CLI. This is the command line which allow us to select the file. I thought that when we're using just the general.env, we don't need it, but apparently I need it anyway. So the command will be like that, that our file will be .env, and the command we'll be using is npm . Yeah. Sorry for that. I don't know what was the issue here. I thought that I don't need the .env CLI to run the stuff. Apparently, I need it. And let's make already our command here. Test use the .env to run the test. Let's see. Let's see if I haven't screwed up anything. Okay. As you can see, since I have already added git ignore for node file env, by default is ignored and not uploaded. Oh, right, Mikołaj, you are right. I was supposed to add that to the file. Thank you. Yeah, you are right. I knew I forgot something. Yeah, so to use it without the need for the .env command, you need to have, as Mikołaj said, you need to add the required .env config. This is the stuff that we need to add, and then everything will be working correctly. So just to show it, I will remove it from here, and we'll be running npm test. Okay, anyway, let's leave it as it was there. I will play it on the break to see how we'll be doing it correctly. I'm missing something, but we have it right now in some version that is working, and that is the most important. Anyway, as you can see, the env file is not committed here. So, what we can do with this? We, for example, can do another file. To have the settings for different environment. Not everybody agrees that this is a correct way of using env. People say that in env there should be statical values. And in case of normal application, I agree. In case of testing, I think having few environments is useful. And since we already added the library to run them, we can add ourselves another command, test test and our env will be test. Since in this, let's put it on different URL. Now, if we will be using npm run test env, unfortunately, since we are using different script than test, we need to use command run. Let's make sure if I put it correctly. Yeah, I put it correctly. Now, one test should pass, another should fail. this domain is even slower, but as you can see, it used different configuration. So let's continue and let's remove all the passwords from our code. Okay. Process and username. Now this may be interesting because depending on the version of Node, the $sign can be problematic. Let's see if in our case it will be problematic or not. And username looks correct. Yeah, let's add it for them just in case. I don't think. Sorry. Let's see if that will make a change. It shouldn't. URL is correct. Let's see if this is as I was expecting the problem with the password, but it should be different problem. So it is the problem with the password. Which symbol it was now, not this one. Basically, we have $. $sign is very problematic in the code. Quite often, it can make different version of the code misbehave slightly. And sorry, that was misclick on my part. And we need to sanitize it as we are sanitizing the yeah, this one. Code. Let's see if this works. Let's give it a few more seconds, but that shouldn't be the case. I was somehow disconnected. I think I am again. Sorry for the problems. Okay, so when we are finished, I was trying to see what's going on with the system, and I'm seeing some interesting thing here. The username is returning wrong value because I think I am using some forbidden phrases. Let's change it to login and see if now it will behave properly. Yeah. I forgot that username is also forbidden. Case. Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Thank you for reminding me. I wasn't expecting it to stop sharing the screen. Are you able to see my screen now? Thank you, Mikołaj, for information. Thank you, Julia, for information. So our end files look like this. I'm going to commit the or else the end file won't be committed. And okay. So what do we have now? Now we have the code that we can parameterize. We have place to keep the values, which is env. I'm going to remind you, this is for values that are stable, like, your environment URL, like some basic login information. Usually, we are talking here about the systems when we cannot create users on the fly. If we can create users on the fly, I wouldn't be using something like that. But in case when you have limited user access, I am working with one of that kind of systems when we have only few user accounts we can use. Then it's worth also storing them somewhere. In case of CI/CD, you can put them in also environment variables that will be available to node. So you don't need to make the end file there, and you can control them still per environment. Okay, so we have our two cat tests, but not exactly. Well, let's be honest. We were discussing about how 200 is not really an actual proper way of saying that test is okay, because anything else can be wrong. We need to do some little more assertions. So let's see our response here. What we can do here? We have our status code. We have our information that it's valid credentials. We can check the username. And yeah, I think this may be a good thing. The user ID is something, if we are not creating dynamic data, it shouldn't be changing too much. So we can check the information about user ID. Response. Where is that? Oh, here it is. Response, that will be body and then data. Body, data, ID, 2. '19. Let's see. Okay. Everything works, but I would still think about doing one more thing. We have the token. Here we could think about some regex, but yeah, in normal case, I would think about doing some regex, but we will be satisfied today to check if this is some long string. So token, and I think it should be longer than 30 symbols. By the way, this line is not entirely correct. Um, that is interesting. Ah, right. I forgot I need to do length. And dyslexia is one of the things that is quite annoying when you are writing code. I quite often make lots of mistakes thanks to that. Okay. Again, as I said, this is not really correct case, but for our simplified workshop, it will be okay. Normally, I would suggest do some regex to check if the token looks like the token. Okay, so we have now our cases. Let's commit our work. And what next? Yeah, next thing is a little more complicated because this token, in case of our case for login, it's something that is useful for us. But let's be honest, we won't be doing only login. We will be also doing tests that are doing something more, like, let's say, creating posts. So how we can reuse that token? There are a few ways. We could, before every test, do the call to the login, and then we can do our important call. Or we can do something that is that will be useful for us. We can do it asynchronously before. So what we'll be going to do? We will try to write some some test for the post. Let's reuse the frame from here. Let's delete our information here. Let's delete here. Okay. So first thing first, we need to log in. And as I said, we can do it in the test, but we can do it on before. So let's create for ourselves, let token equals null. This is will be our variable for keeping token. Before, unfortunately, before doesn't allow us to write any information what it will be doing. I'm usually, when I'm doing this, I'm writing it here. It's worth to have some summary, and since before doesn't allow us inside, I'm usually preferring to have it somewhere here. And yeah, we can do here getting the token. How we can do it? We basically can reuse the code we have written here. And password const response, then token equals response body data token. Just in case, console. Okay. Okay, let's do it even better. Let's do it here. Let's see if this will work. We have token, okay? But let's be honest, this is quite a lot of code that will need to be copy pasting. So let's create ourselves some utility method, utils, yeah, utils, and here in this file, I created another file. Sorry. Of JS. And in this file, we will be reusing some of part of our information. We will reuse this. And then we will do module, not Mocha, module export. I will call it async get token. Async function and here we can copy this part. That to here is the term. Okay, so now in the method we can reuse our new thing. So first we will need to get our function. Let's do it. So it will be const. How we called it? I forgot. Get token. Oh, let's see. That will be get token. We are in the fine. Second, it will be auth equals require fields. We don't need more. We have it now. And right now we can do it this way. We have token equals, yeah, I will commit it in a few seconds to the repo. Await auth how I call the method get token. Let's see if I haven't screwed up anything. Undefined token. Let's see what I made. When I did copy, I have overwritten the name. I made some mistake. Module export. There is async. I have the response. I am comparing it from the code I have also done in before preparation, to just in case if I make some mistakes, and to looking into some issue I have. Yeah. Okay. So we have now extracted method for the logging that we can reuse. So I have the ones got question, since we wrote the method, should we now in our test here also use this method? Not really, because here we are testing the logging. Here this is what is our system under test, the logging in getting the token. In our other tests, token will be only the stuff that will be used by us to go further, to use another thing, to reuse that thing. And it's not part of our system under test. It is our requirements before. As you have probably in some manual cases, you know that we have before steps or pre-test conditions. This is similar thing. Here we can use it because it is our pre-test condition. User has to be logged in to use that functionality. So how we can do the posts? Now, again, first thing first, we need to take a look at the API. We can go to the documentation and see how the API works. Sometimes, or like in this case, we also have access to the Swagger or Open API, this case Swagger, and we can look at how the different APIs are working, what different methods we have. For our case, we will want to create simple posts. So we have the list of parameters that we can use and the list of possible statuses. I'm not going to go spend too much time here on how it's actually going there. For now, let's do a minimum of what we need. So first, we have our token. How we can use it? So we have our post. The post will be going for the different API address. This is the address that we'll be doing post to. And the first thing we need to add, sorry. The first which we need to add headers, which we can do using set. The first header that we need is our authorization. And in case of JWT token, with the WordPress, we can send it using a bearer. There. Okay. So now we have added the bearer. In case if you don't know, when we are using this is apostrophe, this is the one under tilde, I'll forget the name. We can use it to create string format. We can do string interpolation and insert variables directly to the string, like this case. Okay, so let's do a very simple test. Let's create the most simple of the bodies. In our case, the thing that we need to do is put title test from API committed. So now I'm going to also show you there is different way of checking our information. Previously, we were waiting for the response, but now we'll be using chaining. And we will be expecting status 2001, not 2001, 201, because this is the status for created new information. Of course, we can do some more. We can also do some checks on the body. Response. Better. from our letter. And here we can do few exceptions in the row. First, let's say the response is, I have shaky hands today. Response body tab. This is the field in WordPress that is telling us if our post is published. In our case, it's not. So it's draft. The next thing what we can do is we can do expect response body. Well, title. Unfortunately, title have two information formatted in not. Our case, let's look at the raw data to equal test from API committed. Now we can use also another thing. We can put here the flag called the keyword called done. Stop this, which means that this is the place he will finish doing the assertions. Now the code will check all the expects at once and will give us information if even it will check the next one, even if the first will break. So let's run it. Let's see how it will be working if I haven't broke anything. Good. The test has passed. We have our information, but let's see if this is actually passing. Let's change the name. Oh, as we can see, something is not really right here because it's still not catching the errors, because there is one more thing which we need to do when we are doing the assertions in them. We need to catch errors. Nice. Catch. I'm missing something. Somewhere there is something that I forgot to put. Let's see if this one will be corrected. This one should be caught properly. All right, I see what I forgot. In this case, I need to also put done here. Yes. Finally, we are seeing issues. Well, remember one thing. This is, I like the old saying, the expert is person that made all possible issues with the code. And here we have the example of that. I have done few mistakes here, which I shouldn't have, which I haven't done in a long while, and I was forgetting what to do. As you can see, we have here the issue. It caught that the draft was mistaken. But what was surprise to me, because it should be causing them both. Let's see one more time. Now it should code the second one. So yeah, let's lift it right now on this place. Let's commit this test. Okay. We have another one done. There is lots of tests we can do, but at this point, I would like to discuss two more things. First is comparison of the data. Right now, we were looking on simple case when we, sorry, when we were doing the stuff. What if we would like now create another post and do more information? Then first thing, what we should do it, oh no, before it's correct. Before it's done run, before each is done many times. But let's say we want to read the posts, some posts and make some data comparison. What kind of post we want to read? Yeah, let's send the request. Token is invalid. Anyway, our request, we have created the object, but if we would like to compare some object that is already created there and do some more things, like comparing it with already created with more than 2 fields, this way won't do for us. It will be long way forward. So, sorry. So in this case, let's delete this for now. This won't be needed. We want to read some post that is already there. So let's say we want to read some already created post. I'm not going to write it all from the hand because it's lots of fields that we need to check. As you can see, this is example of post that is already somewhere on the page. We would like to make the check on this post. So let's see. Request get, because we'll be doing get, not post this time. And our URL will be practically identical. This time we will be also expanding it with the post ID. Oh, sorry, I forgot about the dollar. Post ID. Okay, let's add our authentication again. Well, we can use TypeScript for API tests, and you can use the model from there. This is this is the very good option, and I personally prefer using the TypeScript. But for today's workshop, I wanted to go with the bare bones JavaScript to show you. But personally, if you are using TypeScript in project, I would use TypeScript for the API tests. But if the most of the project is done in Java, you don't using the TypeScript there, I would use the also Java there. Anyway, so we'll be using the, again, we have our set, we have expect 200 this time, but we want to do now comparison of our bodies. Oh, sorry, I forgot to ask. Dimitri, did I answer your question? Again, yes, you can use TypeScript, and if the team is using TypeScript, I would even suggest it. So we now have the response, and we'll be using the response here. But if I would have to check this all manually, and there is few more things, to be honest, I would probably go mad. This is not even that big case. So we would have, see here we have two fields to compare. Now look at this. This is lots more. Sorry. Fortunately, there are options to do that. There is command expect response body to deep equal, and we have our post. This is the case we have created ourselves beforehand. This is our data we'll be comparing it to. Unfortunately, it will fail now, but let's see why it will fail. Something have went wrong. Creating post. I forgot that when you are using done, we don't need the async. Let's give it a second. Ah. I forgot about this. Whoa, 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 what's going on here? As you can see, it's showing us the properties I haven't put information about. There is quite a lot of them. So what we can do? Either we can add them or here, but if they are non-important to us, we can exclude them. But to exclude this, we need to install another library. The library this time in case is Chai exclude. This is a library which adds as functionality of excluding the properties that are not important to us. So let's add ourselves we have added the chai. Now let's add chai exclude. And unfortunately, in this case, we need also to say use chai exclude. Oh yeah, and this will need us to make also this change. Okay, so now we have chai exclude. So what we can do? We can create the list of the properties that are to be excluded. And the list is long, so again, I will copy it. I won't write it from the page, from my hand, because it will be taking too much time and too easy to make mistake. But now, when we are doing here this comparison, we can add excluding. And in the excluding, we can write the props to exclude. Let's do another test. And I've run the install command, not the test. The timeouts I need to increase on this. Took. Don't have information on the last run. Yeah, let's add it few seconds. Have everything. This is too much. This we have set up properly. Catch, const, then expect. Yeah. Silly me. Okay, it passed. But do it really pass? Let's make some change. The title is incorrect. The ping status is incorrect. So it's working. Let's fix our values. I'm going to commit it here. Post. Yeah. Okay, we are slowly coming to the end of our time. So first, if you have any questions, this is the point to be asking them. I will now do a little overview of what we do. First thing first, we spent some time to refresh our knowledge of APIs. And this is something which is worth knowing, especially if you will be looking to ask questions on the internet. Proper terminology will save you lots of the hassle. Next, we spent a moment in Postman to check the few simple tests. Then we were using the library SuperTest to do our testing. We used the version with the Mocha and Chai to write very few simple tests like the login information. Then we were also using this as the token for the later authorization. And we removed some values to the end. And also we set up bigger timeouts and retries for our better use of all the settings. In this module, in this workshop, we kind of covered all the bases that you will need for most of the automation. How would I use the factory_gar in our test? Factory_gar is mostly for TypeScript, if my memory is correct. And I would kind of use faker. What I would do, I would use it for example, creating the title, the post. Give me a second. I will open the ready example. Unfortunately, I don't have enough time to get you the full time. Is the code readable or should I enlarge it a little? Okay. Presentation mode. So basically, in case of factory_gar, or we can use it also with faker, we can create our case and factory. This is factory creating simple object of the author, and then the factory is using faker For generation, the names, the emails, and in is returning us the already built object. Now, sorry, I forget to prepare the other file. Exit presentation mode. I need to open the second file, and I have the case here. Validate spec. One moment. I'm looking for the place when I have the test using data generation so I can show you it in action. Oh yeah, I have it here. This is done in Cypress, but it should be showing it correctly. Yeah, we have the types. We have the test with the factor girl. Yes. I'm enlarging it again. So enter presentation mode. Okay, this is the case when I'm using actually different factory. I'm using Fisher here to create the test data. I'm using the test factory here to define the test data. This is test with the how it's called, with the TypeScript. And then during my before test, I can generate the data. I can then use it to create my own already prepared data. It has some values. It can use different values too to generate them to make the comparisons. Usually in this case, you know, I'm doing here very simple because I was checking the tool. But the idea is we should generate data on the fly. Basically, if you can, you should prepare your data on the fly. You should record that data either in some document or in console log or just in logs, so you know what the data was sent. And after that, you can use the factory plus faker to create the random data to use in your test. Basically, you want to create post. Well, you don't want to create the same post each time. You want it to have different ID, different titles, different all the informations, and factory is the way to do it. And did I answer your question? I know I did it very on the very basics. Okay. Anybody has any more questions? I will send you one more repo because I have the few code examples in the other repo I have prepared. Where is the other repo? Second, yeah, API workshop. This repo has few more examples I wasn't able to cover, but yeah, last thing, probably you know about it, but there is a little issue with Faker. Faker is the library for generation of random addresses, that kind of stuff. Originally, it was called Faker, but the guy who created it went on strike because he wasn't very keen on fact that so many companies were using it, were demanding on him to make changes, but he wasn't getting anything of it and was burnt out, and deleted everything, replacing it with some fakes. In this case, if you want to use Faker, you need to use the address at faker.js/faker. Okay, so in summary, if you want to write API test in JavaScript, you can do that. There are libraries for that. I am quite fond of SuperTest, but basically you can use any library you want for writing that kind of stuff, because most of this you are still dependent on the unit test framework. In this case, Mocha plus Chai, but you can use other stuff too. And I think someone here was saying about Podsum.js, if I remember correctly. This is also one of the options to do that. Okay, and I think this is the moment when we can finish our workshop. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, you can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook and or at Twitter. If you have any questions, please contact me. So that's all from my side, and thank you for your time. Thanks, Mikołaj. Okay, and we'll stay in contact. Bye.